Right, so we've just dealt with Czechoslovakia. Now we're going to deal with the Nazi-Soviet Pact and Poland, which is the last topic on the Hitler's foreign policy section. So, as I've said, Stalin was best placed for helping Britain and France over the Polish issue, and throughout the summer of 1939 you've got Britain and the USSR. Stalin are talking about possibly forming an alliance, and Britain delayed this. It was delayed as much as possible, and the problem is that Poland was really caught between a rock and a hard place, because obviously they didn't want the Nazis there. They didn't want the Nazi invasion. They knew the threat they were under because of the noises Hitler was making. But by the same token, Poland feared that if they accepted the help of Stalin, they wouldn't be able to get rid of any Russian Soviet soldiers after this. So it's a bit of a strange issue. Poland's in a no-win position, really. They don't want Germany, they don't want Stalin, and Hitler's natural enemy was communism. It's clearly put out there that he's had quarrels with communists ever since he's been coming to power. He hates it, and he's got this policy of Lebensraum, which is talking about expanding Germany into Eastern Europe, and this would include the USSR, Russia. So at some point it was pretty inevitable that there was going to be a war between communist Russia, Soviet Russia, and Nazi Germany. It was always going to happen, and that was the view. So there was shockwaves sent through Europe on the 23rd of August 1939, when the Nazi-Soviet Pact was signed between Hitler and Stalin. And this means war is really, really inching closer now. And the basic premise of this was that they would not attack each other, they would not fight each other, and they were going to divide through a series of clauses Poland between Germany and Russia. Germany would attack Poland from the west, the USSR from the east, and Hitler was absolutely convinced that Britain and France weren't going to do anything about the Polish issue. After all, he got away with the Sudetenland, he got away with Czechoslovakia. Why Poland? He had more of a claim to Danzig than he had to Czechoslovakia, and he got away with that. The question that's often asked is, why would Stalin do this? And there's a few reasons. One is he was sick of waiting. He felt as though that Britain and France were delaying. He felt Britain had delayed through the summer in signing this agreement. Stalin was very, very paranoid as a figure, and he was upset that he was left out, probably rightly so, of the discussions in the Munich conference and the Munich agreement. Russia wasn't included in this. And there's the view that Britain and France were hoping that if they delayed as long as possible, Hitler and Stalin would go to war against each other, they would destroy each other, and there wouldn't be any need at all for Britain and France to raise a finger. So Stalin viewed it as, well, they're hoping we destroy each other, and we'll just Britain and France will just sit there and do nothing at all. So he was very, very suspicious of the motives of Britain and France. Now, there are views out there that Hitler tricked Stalin, obviously deceived him, and they would obviously go to war against each other in the future. The Russian view, if you're a fan of Stalin, could be slightly different, and that view would be that actually Stalin wasn't ready for a war with Nazi Germany. He wasn't equipped for it. So what he did is he used the old adage of keep your friends close but your enemies closer, and basically bought himself time so he could deal with Hitler when he was ready to deal with Hitler. So there are different ways to look at the Nazi-Soviet Pact. Now, obviously this would be focused on Poland, and as I've said before, Hitler wants Danzig. It's this Polish corridor. The population of it was 90% German. It was seen as it's something from the Treaty of Versailles that was wrong. And by April of 1939, Hitler is basically demanding that he gets this from Poland. He wants it, okay? And he feels that if he keeps the pressure on, he would get a repeat of the Sudetenland. You know, the Sudetenland had seen him make outlandish demands, and he got them in the end. And he felt, well, I've got more of a right to Danzig than I ever did to Czechoslovakia, so, you know, I'll just keep pushing it, really. You know, like, Britain and France have done nothing so far. Now, Poland is strengthened, it's buoyed by this guarantee that Britain and France would protect them, so they didn't feel as though they had to back down to the threats of Hitler. And to Hitler's shock, Britain warned Germany that we would go to war over this, and Hitler hadn't expected this. And around this time period when you actually see public opinion changing. So if you remember when I was talking to you about the Munich Agreement, Chamberlain returned home as a hero. You know, he plucked victory from the jaws of, you know, certain devastation. And when Czechoslovakia went to the Nazis, public opinion in Britain changed. There was always a distrust of Hitler around the Munich Agreement, but public opinion now is like, okay, we're going to have a war against this guy. He cannot be trusted. His limbs aren't going to stop anytime soon. On the September the 1st, 1939, Germany would invade Poland. September the 3rd, Britain did declare war, so this was what brought Britain into the war. But because of the position of Britain and France compared to the geographical position of Germany and the USSR, we're in no position to save Poland. We cannot defend them, and you know, Poland will fall. And what's perhaps interesting to look at this is Hitler felt as though he could be so aggressive here because he still felt that Britain would back down. He still felt that Britain had, you know, backed down so much during the appeasement process that once they saw the fall of Poland, once they saw the hopeless position, once they saw the might of, you know, Russia and Germany together, and perhaps a bit of wishful thinking because he did want Britain as an ally, he felt that Britain would back down. Hitler was wrong. Britain didn't, and we were now going to go to war from, you know, over Poland until what would last in 1945.